Very good. Impressive. Shivchey HaRan. The Rebbe is the Shivchey HaRan in Sochos HaRan. The Rebbe is the Sia, Otya base. Next day, this Mitavech came to them, and this agent came to them, the one that's ready for the ships and everything. He said that a ship came from Chutz La'aretz with Jews, and they also have a Shoichet, and then the same ship was the famous Rabbi Chassid Moreno Rav Zev Wolf from Charny Ostra, one of the big tzaddikim at that time, and other very important people. And they asked about Rabbeinu Zichron Levracha. And the person that was with Rabbeinu told him the truth about Rabbeinu. So immediately, Rabbi Zev immediately sent an invitation to Rabbeinu Zichron Levracha to come to him, to where he's staying, and he will accept him with love and in the same. Rabbeinu B'Shupam, he didn't want to go there. He says, it's good for me to stay here. I'm comfortable. I want to stay here. Because in Istanbul, he was playing games. Rabbeinu was basically doing, small-minded things. He would go without shoes and without a belt and without a hat. And he was wearing only the interschlag, that's the lining of the coat that they had from some kind of a coat that he had. And he would go in the market like the young kids were sitting by the street corners eating sunflowers, whatever it is, that run in the market and are playing. And he would do wars, war games, with the children. That one they called France and one they called a different one, and they make a war, and there was all kinds of strategies and war, whatever it is. He was in all these kind of all these small-minded inyanim, like mamish children in Istanbul. And then the Deva plague occurred, Rahmanu Litzlan, in that Khan, in that room, this yard where Rabbeinu was, and he had to run away from there, and he had to go with the Achsani of Rabbi Zev. And this Rabbi Zev Wolf from Charny Ostra made huge Suda for Rabbeinu. And Rabbi Zev was treating Rabbeinu with unbelievable, awe and honor and this. And Rabbeinu Zev did a few things there that were against the Rasan of Rabbi Zev Wolf. Whatever it is, he did forget it. And still, Rabbi Zev Wolf loved Rabbeinu so much, he didn't look at any of it. Even though it was totally astonishing for him, he couldn't understand it. So when Rabbi Zev Wolf, would daven for the Omen on Shabbos, like the Mefasoim used to, Rabbeinu was already eating, because he davened before. And until he was davening so early, so by the time the Rabbi Zev Wolf was davening from the Omen, the Tefillah, whatever, Rabbeinu was already eating. The same thing was Leil Shabbos and Shachas and Shalosh Shudas. When Rabbi Zev sat for Shalosh Shudas, Rabbeinu already benched Birkas Hamazon. And he told the person who was willing to go outside, see if there are stars out. Immediately davened Maariv, made Havdalah, and took his pipe. And went into the house of Zev Wolf was sitting there, just starting Shalosh Shudas. Like the Mefasoim sitting Shalosh Shudas, and in the dark and saying Torah. Rabbeinu comes in with the pipe. And it says the minute Rabbeinu came there without a hat, without a gartel, and holding the pipe, immediately Rav Zev accepted him with great kavod, immediately benched, davened Maariv, and made Havdalah, and spoke with Rabbeinu HaKodesh Mamash the entire night long. There was a great love between them. Rabbeinu Zichron Levracha did all kinds of small-minded things over there. And he was there on the cave of Rabbi Naftali Katz, the Smicha Chachamim, that is buried there. And everything that he went through in Istanbul, in Gashmis and Ruchnius, there's not enough pages to write everything that went there. And the way that is understood from what the Rebbe said, he was in an unbelievable danger over there. and he was certain that he was going to stay there, that he was going to die there. The Kodesh Baruch Hu made unbelievable moifsim with him, and he went through everything. And this small-minded thing that he did, this nonsense that he did, was very helpful for him. Even when he came from the keva of Naphtali, suddenly he fell down on the floor and he was lying down like for hours. And then they put him on the bed, and he lay there all night long until half a day the next day. And he was lying there like somebody who died. Until HaKadosh Baruch Hu helped him, and he recovered, and he got up. He had unbelievable dangers, and the menias and the to no end. And he says that all these zionis, all these small-minded things that he did, helped him a lot. And Rabbeinu says that he got so used to behaving in this katnos when he came to Eretz Yisrael, he wanted to throw away from him. He says he had to force himself with alle koiches. He got used to this. He had to throw his own katnos. It was very difficult because he already got used to it, because he was so into it. And then when he came back from Eretz Yisrael, he was an unbelievable chidush niflo. The Rebbe's wisdom, his Indian, he says, omek, the depth is, it's just lo nishma, it's unheard of, a thing like this. Because it is a no that before you go from one madrega to the next, you have to have a yerida, the tzorech aliyah. So you have to give katnas to be mamash posh to person. And Rabbeinu Zichron, because he never stood on one madrega, was a billionaire, never stopped. He was just like on and on and on and on and on and on and on. All the time, every day, every hour, he would go from one madrega to the next. And that's what his chokhmah on these inyonim, how to behave, was endless. Rabbeinu said, by the way, that the reason the Baal Shem Tov, we got to Istanbul, he wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael, he couldn't get to Eretz Yisrael, is because the Baal Shem Tov was not able to make him so small, to get to this kind of bezyonis, this kind of smallness, to get out. That's why he had to go back to Mezhibosh. Sichas HaRan, tam-taram. Okay, let's see, we talked about Emunah last, right? Yeah. And Rabbeinu says, this Sicha Lamed Hey, this is one of the famous Sichas, the Satmar Rebbe, Rabbi Yoelish, said that in this Sicha, he says, there's the biggest Gilui of Ruach HaKodesh that he has ever seen, by any of the tzaddikim. And this is what Rabbeinu says. Rabbeinu says there's a big apikosis, heresy that comes to the world. And he said for a long time that there's a big apikosis that are coming to the world. Everybody was religious those days. People couldn't fathom. It's like saying that ISIS is going to become secular. It's like totally unfathomable. He says, fortunate is a person who holds himself in emunah in those times. He says, and even though it doesn't help the fact that I say it, it's going to be big apikosis. I mean, he predicted it and he said this was going to be. And you have to mechazik yourself in emunah. He says, even though he is revealing this, it won't help. The apikosis will come and the Bilbulim will override. He says, Daniel also said, in the Kayes, the others, they also said before Mashiach will come, a lot of people, will be, thrown off the pedestal, and it will be cleansed. And the Rishonim are going to fall off, and the Maskilim will, he says, Machar, and since he already announced it before, that this is going to be the Nisayon before Mashiach is coming, that a lot of people will be checked out and tested this in of Emunah, and anybody that will be zoichet to stand on this Nisayon and come in his Emunah and strong in his Emunah, and he's fortunate to be zoichet in all the fortunate goodness that's going to come to us in Hashem very soon, that all the Nevi'im were prophesied on it. And Ken, since Rabbeinu already said it is proper that everybody will have a seichel and they rachmanas on himself, to stand fast, in his emunah, and it won't be b'chal nisayon because he knows already, because it was already pre-announced that that's going to be the nisayon. So supposedly, that shouldn't be any nisayon at all. Even though it was already pre-announced, afal pichen would be a big nisayon, and a lot of people will stray off the derech. As it says, v'yirshu rishoyim, the rishoyim will go, the wicked will go in a wicked way. Afal pichen, but even though the rishoyim will do it, still, and I announced it beforehand, for these few Elohim that will hold themselves in the Emunah, that they're going to have great wars. They will stand unbelievable battles and struggles to keep themselves in the Emunah. And in their own minds they'll have these wars. So they'll have a Meshiv Nefesh, they'll have this consolation, this answers, this chaskas, and they'll be able to strengthen themselves and force themselves, because they'll see that it's not all of a sudden, boom, I don't know what's happened to me. Because it was already pre-announced that it's going to happen. So it'll be a shtickle easier for them. Okay, at least I know I know that I don't know what the heck is going on, but it was already announced, so, I can get myself over the hump, so to speak. And keep on keeping on, as they say.